Welcome everybody to a special draft lottery stream of DBB Live. Hope you've all had a great day so far. Ready to talk some Detroit basketball. I'm Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops and Detroit Bad Boys, and I am joined, as always, by the Aussie himself, Jack Kelly from Detroit Bad Boys. Jack, feeling a little nervous?
I'm nervous as hell, but I'm like, man, we're finally here. I'm nervous. I was late to the stream. I've been a bit all over the place this morning, so I'm really excited, man.
Yeah, me too. I'm just happy it's finally day, right? And as you guys can see, we're joined by two incredible guests for everyone tonight. We got the man himself, Bryce Simon, from Motor City Hoops, Detroit Bad Boys, and co-host of the Pistons Pulse podcast. And we got Blake Silverman from Detroit Bad Boys. So we got two draft just experts here, guys. So I gotta ask both of you, are you feeling nervous either? Bryce, Blake, yeah.
This is one of those days, guys, where I realize that my Detroit fandom only started 3 years ago, and I'm not nearly on the same level as everybody else. I woke up reading tweets of, I'm about to throw up, I'm about to, I'm freaking out. And listen, I'm excited and all of this stuff, but I'm kind of chilling. Honestly, the biggest thing that impacts me is content creation, and I kind of feel bad about that. So, I've realized on days like today that my fandom doesn't run as deep as a lot of people in the fan base.
Oh man, I'm feeling pretty nervous. I mean, honestly, it didn't really hit me until about an hour ago. I've been trying to be a realist through this whole thing, just gotta wait for the answer. You never know how it can go, but I don't know. 7 o'clock hit, and I was actually feeling some butterflies in my stomach. So I'm excited to actually have an answer, and that we all and Pistons fans can feel something for the first time in a while.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm just excited. I'm not really nervous at all, but I've been saying it for a bit. I like Five Guys, so I'm cool. We're good.
Yeah, no, it's well, Wes, do you still have Anthony Black at first overall? Or have you come around to Wembanyama?
If there was a level higher than first overall, that's where I'd be putting him right now. But I'm kind of capped. So yeah, he's number one for sure.
For sure. No, well, he had some impressive results at the combine yesterday. I mean, I didn't realize his vertical measurements, they sort of surprised me. Admittedly, I'm not the biggest draft guy, but yeah, he had some impressive numbers there.
Yeah, I think everyone talks about his IQ, and I think John Hollinger released a big board today where he had Anthony Black at 5 over, I think, both Thompson twins, Taylor Hendricks and everything. So, I mean, different people are high on different people, but Black's a guy I can definitely see climbing the boards and maybe being a surprise top 5 pick when it's all said and done.
For sure. Well, as everyone knows, the show is for the fans. So, without further ado, we've already got a couple.
Yeah, can I ask a question first? I want to throw something out first. Can I do it?
Of course you can. Of course you can.
I got one too after Bryce.
Blake has one as well. Okay. My friend just texted me this a little bit ago. In this specific draft, would you take the current lottery odds, or would you take a 50% chance at 1, but then the other 50% you go to 14?
Oh,
I'd take the coin flip. That was my gut answer. I'd do it. I mean, that's huge.
I don't think I would.
Okay.
My
answer was the coin flip.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I still believe that Victor Wembanyama obviously is a tier above, but I still believe there's 3 other guys in this draft who could be really, really, really good players.
So this will get a little too deep, but this kind of goes to expected value to me, and I'm more worried about avoiding getting 14 than anything else. So even though the odds would technically say go ahead, do the coin flip, I'm not comfortable with it. I'm going to take what it is because your worst case outcome is still Cam Whitmore at 5. Like, I'm cool with that. That sounds great instead of slipping all the way to 14. So I don't know. I'm just gonna cut the tree branch above my house before it falls through my window instead of playing the odds. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, Bryce, my question actually was different. So it's an obscure little lottery trivia question. Curious if either of you remember what game was the night of the 2021 lottery when the Pistons won it and selected Cade, like the actual game. I promise something like significant actually happened. It's not like game one of whatever. Curious if anyone remembers. I'll be surprised if you do.
I have
Okay.
absolutely no idea. I'm so
Yeah.
intrigued.
It was the Valley Oop where Jay Crowder threw that inbound on the
Oh my
baseline to
God.
DeAndre Ayton and had that like 0.9 seconds alley oop. I think it was game 2 of the Western Conference
remember.
Finals, but yeah, I don't know why I remember it, but I do. That was like
Well,
the most
that
fun
actually,
night.
I like that you brought this up because I know for me as a Pistons fan, I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing. I was at work. I work in construction, so I was on a work site and I'd run away from the work site and I was trying to watch the lottery and I was getting really pissed off with all the ads and stuff in between. So I was like, I got to get back to work. And I just remember the feeling I got when they pulled the Houston Rockets card out and I knew we were getting pick 1. I was like, that by far, for better or worse, depressing, whatever you want to call it, that is the most excitement I've ever had as a Pistons fan. Like
Yep.
nothing has topped that feeling. So I guess, do you guys remember where you were and what you were doing when we found out Detroit was selecting first overall?
I remember as well because the lottery happened in June, I believe, because we were still working through like making up the COVID stuff. And we had scheduled a summer basketball tournament, not tournament, but just scrimmage that night. So I was coaching and I just remember like I wasn't checking during coaching because I was like, I will get so distracted. So waited till the end of the night, and then my phone had just blown up with congrats, blah, blah, blah. And so I was in the gym coaching my high school team when it happened. Obviously now we're in May, so we haven't started summer basketball stuff, but yep, I remember that one for sure.
Yeah, I just remember being on my couch. I don't have as interesting of a story, but yeah, the feeling when that went on, even when we knew that we were moving into the top 4, like I was super excited. And then once they read off the final cards and Houston at number 2, like, yeah, you can't beat it.
Yeah, I was sitting on the couch at an old apartment, and I'm pretty sure, like when they went number 1, I just kind of did one of these, and my dog like jumped off the couch. But that's my only funny story. Spooked the dog.
I
Yeah,
love it.
it was I feel like I'm not alone with not that I'm younger per se, but there's a generation of Pistons fans who I think they can sympathize with that being their top moment as a Pistons fan. So, yeah, hopefully tonight we can potentially top that feeling, I guess. I think we'll wait till the end of the show or just before the lottery kicks off to do our predictions. But yeah, I think we'll jump into some questions here. So the first question we've got here is from SK Timmons. Is there a better realistic offseason than Victor Wembanyama, Jeremy Grant, and former Suns coach Monty Williams joining the Pistons?
No.
Would you like to elaborate, Bryce?
I don't think I need. I mean, listen, you guys know the whole coaching thing is like something I've kind of stayed out of or whatever. But I do think, Monty Williams would be a good hire. That's something I would be super excited about if it happens. Victor is the prize of all of this. So I think just Victor alone. And then if you added Jeremy Grant, like I don't love Jeremy at the 3. So like if I wanted to critique one thing from this, it would be playing Jeremy at the 3. But I think that's a really good offseason. And when you put in realistic, And I don't think it's that I mean, you have a 14% chance tonight, and why wouldn't Monty Williams want to come coach the Pistons if they get the number 1 pick? And then, Jeremy, it's got to be that much more enticing, other than he'd be like the 5th fiddle now. Maybe he doesn't want that. So I don't think there's much better than that.
Wes?
This is your fault that I'm going to say no, actually. Only because you really got me sold on the idea you're pitching on the podcast, actually. With, like, if you get Victor, you're probably going to be real good pretty soon, because Cade, by all accounts, looks like he's on the right track. Ivy's been exciting. Duren's a wild card. And then you got, likely a sure thing, right, with Victor. So if you get that kind of core, I don't really want to spend. I'd rather be trying to acquire some future assets to keep the thing going long term. So yeah, this is your fault that I'm saying no.
Man, that sounds like a pretty good offseason to me too. Like, Victor and Monty Williams, I think, are both of like the best options for the draft and for coach. I also think Jeremy Grant is probably the best fitting free agent on the market. So I don't think you can really beat that. I am a big Monty Williams guy, so I'm really interested to see like what happens in the process. But yeah, it would be tough to beat that offseason.
Yeah, look, I just to add on to you guys, I'm with you. I think that would be pretty much the ideal or one of the best case scenarios. I think just with the coaching thing, I align with you, Bryce, in discussing coaches. Like, I sort of struggle to form a really strong opinion of who should be the coach, but I've just been talking to some Suns fans just throughout the week, and there is some things really to like with what they have to say about Monty Williams. I know our own Damien Allred, I believe I pronounced his surname correct, wrote a really good piece on Monty Williams. He also covers the Suns for SB Nation. So he detailed how Monty likes to have this 0.5 offense, which means we swing the ball. He really likes to empower his players to move the ball and make quick decisions, which for those that watched a lot of Pistons basketball last year, that was something that I think sort of grinded the gears at times of the fans, is just sort of the lack of movement on offense. And that's not all on Coach Casey, that's on the players as well, for what it's worth. But another thing I really liked that this Suns fan had to say was he's really good with young players, that's not just developing them, but more so just using them in optimal ways and sort of emphasizing the strengths they have. And there's just some other things I really like. So if they could get Monty Williams, I think that would be a really, really good get.
Jack, real quick, might be overthinking this a little bit, but for everyone that's excited about potentially adding Monty Williams, I did think it was interesting that the Bucks brought in, I think it was the associate head coach, for an interview for their position when being previously linked to Monty Williams. Like, I wonder, I just thought it might be some interesting game strategy going on there. Like, is that getting backup information on Monty Williams? Is that getting you talked to Monty and said he said he was out, so you're going for the next best thing? I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, so I wanted to bring it up.
No, it's definitely. Oh, sorry. I only smirked then because I made this tweet. It's just so stupid. I didn't realize the lead assistant was titled as a associate head coach. So I was just smiling then because I just made a stupid tweet yesterday. So sorry, Blake.
No, that's not the case with every organization. Like, it's sometimes you just have a head coach and 3 assistant coaches, and then sometimes you have an associate head coach, and it's the same thing with college. So it's not like the standard, I guess. A lot of times it's like, okay, I have a lead assistant and I'm trying to get him a head coaching job or whatever, and then they get that label. So it's an easy thing to kind of misconstrue or whatever. So I'm ready for
that makes me feel better.
Yeah, it's not some I'm ready for peanut. No, we're not.
Throw it up.
That's a long Pistons pulse. I don't know. Inside, it's not an inside joke, but I told someone on Twitter, if they get number 1 pick, I'll eat the peanut butter and Lay's sandwich. So
be better for it.
Sorry, Blake, you're about to say something and I cut you off.
Oh no. I was Wes, what you were mentioning about the Bucks bringing in the associate head coach, was that Kevin Young, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's garnered some interest too. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's tough to know if it's linked, but I mean, another thing about Monty that I like is he was with the Suns when they really started their upward trajectory. Like he might have joined a little late in the process, but he was there in the bubble when they got one of the last calls. They made that huge run, and he was really there when they didn't know if they were going to make the playoffs or not. And they ended up not making it due to other teams like beating them in the tiebreaker or something. And the next year they came back and made a run to the finals. So I think he's weathered those storms as well and managed situations with young teams that are working to make that next step, which could be good in Detroit.
Hey, can I have one? I'm in my bedroom where there's no TV. So as stuff does start to drop, can you guys, I know we'll talk about it, but can you guys update me, because I'm not seeing any of this. So I know they're
just
probably
got the first pick.
No, I know better than that. I know we're going to have 3 commercial breaks and all sorts of drama before they do that, but I'm sure they haven't announced anything yet, but just my request so I can make sure I stay up. So
if I am at the proper time, the picks aren't being revealed for 13 minutes.
Oh, is Jack frozen? He might be. All right. I'll just get us jumping into some questions then. Hopefully Jack will come back with some better Wi-Fi. All right. Next one from L Blueses. This is a question he says for you, Bryce, but Blake, you're gonna have a lot of insight on this too. I guess Jarris Walker measured 6'6" without shoes at the combine. Does that change your perspective at all? Like, are you considering him not a big anymore?
no, I mean, for me, that's kind of how big I thought he was anyway. So I figure 6'6" without shoes, you play the game with shoes. So he's 6'7.5". You're probably going to call him 6'8". So he's probably the same 6'8" that every other 6'8" is in the NBA. I would consider Jarris Walker very much a small ball 5 if you're going to play him as a 5. My bigger thing with Jarris Walker and why I'm not higher on Jarris Walker is because I don't think he's a wing. So I would love to hear this perspective from Blake and see if he's on the same wavelength. I think he's a really good 4 that does a lot of really nice things. I think he's a modern 4 and you know what the NBA is looking for in 4s. But I think I told someone today, I don't think he's quite as versatile as what everybody's trying to pitch him as. So that's why he's right outside my top 5.
Yeah, and I mean, I was gonna say something similar. Like my biggest question with Walker is whether he can space the floor. He was okay as a 3-point shooter. I mean, I'm not counting that wouldn't develop over time. So I think he could definitely make a step there. But my other biggest question with him is if you are playing him at the 5, is he a sufficient enough rim protector to really just be that anchor of a lineup? I mean, I think playing alongside a Jalen Duren would be great for him and step into that like secondary rim protector role. I know there's been like a lot of Isaiah Stewart comparisons. So is that what Isaiah Stewart is going to be? So we'll see. Those are my 2 biggest questions with Walker. I think he could fit in well, but definitely want to dive into him a little more.
Yeah, I'm no draft expert, so I'm going to lean on you two guys. Just kind of echo that. My only addition is, in the NBA, you are who you can guard, right? I still don't think he can guard wings. So, no matter what he measured, I was still thinking of him as a big. And real quick, on the broadcast, it's pretty funny. They showed Wemby in some hotel room in Paris, so his head's on the ceiling, literally touching the ceiling. So anyway, continue.
No, I was just going to say, we've talked about this. There's a difference between defending 1 through 5 and being able to switch 1 through 5. Walker may be a guy that can eventually switch 1 through 5. I'd say 2 through 5, but he's not a guy you just straight up defend 2 through 5 or 1 through 5. An example of this would be like Jared Vanderbilt, right? Against the Warriors. They tried to play him on Steph Curry, and like he literally matched up with Steph Curry. But his minutes were pretty limited in that series. They'd start him on him, and then he wouldn't play a whole lot. That might have to do more with his offense, but I don't know. Blake, do you see that with Jarris Walker defending on the perimeter? I'm not sure I see that, and maybe he hasn't got the chance to really show it either.
Yeah. I think like from what I've like seen and read, he's okay as a perimeter defender. Like I don't think anything jumps out, but he can definitely be competent there. I think that's something he should definitely focus on. But yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest concern with him is like, is he going to be able to stretch the floor, also anchor a defense? If he's being in there as a small ball five? So we'll see. I mean, right now, I think there are some other guys I would like over him if the Pistons do end up at 4 or 5 or one of those options. So yeah, I don't think Walker is really going to be that for them, but with the proper development, he can definitely grow into a positive defender.
For sure. I think, sorry guys, my internet dropped out, but I'm back now. Obviously, I think the more draft study I've done, I've sort of lowered a little bit on Walker in terms of specifically with the Pistons as well. I still think he's going to be a really versatile player. There's just some more guys I'm higher on now, more namely Cam Whitmore. I know a guy Wes has been pretty big on this whole time. So I think you guys covered the Walker stuff pretty well there. The next question we've got is from Harry Moroz. Some of y'all played ball, I think. So what was your number and why? Oh man, I love this question. Bryce?
Yeah, I was number 3 as much as I could be, which wasn't always the case. Sometimes I had to be 33 in different things, but it was actually Allen Iverson. So there wasn't a player whose game was more different than my game. I was kind of what I look like as a 6'6" white guy that's unathletic. I stood in the corner and banged threes and was a high field awareness guy. But man, I loved watching Allen Iverson play, man. He was a lot of fun. So 3 became my favorite number. It's my favorite number to this day. So I wore it as much as I could. And then, like I say, when not, I just doubled it up and went 33.
I'll go. So as you might guess, as I am a short white guy who's also unathletic, I ran around screens and shot threes. So I always wanted to be number 1 when I was younger for, Chauncey Billups, looked up to him, but got to high school and couldn't. Someone else took the jersey. Or no, actually, I think that we did jerseys by size, and that would have been too small. So I went with 21 because I shot threes, and 2 plus 1 is 3. And I just kind of ran with it from there. So 21's been my go-to ever since.
Love it. Blake?
Yeah, I mean, when I play even all sports, not just basketball, I wore number 7 pretty much because that's what my dad wore. So I just took it from him. But growing up, maybe I was a young Stanley Johnson, Brandon Jennings, all the greats that have worn that number for the Pistons. So
Fawn Maker, Brandon Knight.
I love that. Well, my first number that I always used to wear was number 7 as well. And that was because before I was a Pistons fan, I was a massive Jermaine O'Neal fan, ironically enough. I loved, as soon as, he was the first player when I started following the NBA in, 2005, I really gravitated towards. So it was number 7, and nowadays, since 2012, it's been 0 because of Andre Drummond.
I love that.
So
Loves bigs.
So yeah, 7 and 0 for me.
I'm going to aggregate this incorrectly and say that you grew up loving, or your favorite number is currently number 7 because of Killian Hayes, your favorite Detroit Piston player.
Hey, I love Killian. I think I do. All right. Next question we've got here is from Austin. If we get the 2nd or 3rd pick, who are the best fit prospects? Keyword fit. So if the Pistons, let's just say number let's say number 2. I feel like there's a lot to talk about there.
Yeah, I can jump in. I mean, I think the best fit in, I guess, the wide consensus top 3 is definitely Brandon Miller. Fills that wing need. So yeah, I mean, I think he's the glaring fit. I don't want to like push any Cam Whitmore in the top 3 narrative, because I don't necessarily know what's going to happen. I mean, I know some people are super high on him. He's a super athletic wing as well that can fit a need. But I think if we end up at 2 or 3 and are drafting for fit, it's looking like Miller right now.
Yeah, I mean, he gave the 2 names. I don't think there's any question that they're the best fits. Scoot, we'll talk about. Thompson, I really like. He's in my top 5. I still just think when it comes down strictly to fit, the Pistons need wings, and those 2 guys are the 2 best wings at the top. I'll say this as well, and I know he didn't ask the like Victor's a really good fit also. Like I just want to make that point that Victor, there was this crazy report today about Jalen Duren being out of Detroit if they draft Victor. Like, now, if that's a decision that's made, whatever, I wouldn't understand it. I actually think Jalen Duren is the perfect big to play next to Victor, and really Victor's so versatile that any big can. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're at 3 or 2, and I think this is why I'm comfortable at 4, I'm not as excited, but I'm still comfortable, is I think Cam Whitmore falls right into line with what this team needs. I may be higher on his defensive upside than Brandon Miller's anyway. So.
And also,
I mean, the obvious answer. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I just quick thing. I was just gonna say Cam Whitmore is also, I believe, 2 years younger than Brandon Miller, if we're taking that into consideration too. But sorry, Wes, go ahead.
No, Cam Whitmore's gonna be one of the youngest players in the draft. Like, that's one thing that's definitely overlooked. And then Miller and the Thompson twins are all older.
I was just going to add to be slightly different. I think if you're drafting for fit, you might be looking for immediate production as well. In which case, maybe you're a little more afraid of Whitmore or a guy like Thompson because there is so much projection. So I would throw my other guy, Anthony Black, in there because I do think he could be productive at the 3 day 1 and just move on from there. That would be a heck of a reach though at 2. Like, I like the guy, but that would be a heck of a reach at 2. So.
For sure. I think, like you guys covered it. I mean, this Pistons team desperately, or its biggest need is a wing, a 2-way wing. Yes, Jake. I'm really nervous. My thoughts are all scattered. I'm sorry if it's coming across on the broadcast, but yeah, I think Brandon Miller or Cam Whitmore. Not that I would take Cam at 3, but I just think the need for a wing is sort of glaring on this roster when you look at the young talent that's currently on it. The wing's sort of the one area that hasn't been sort of filled as of yet. We're the reveals in, I think the first lot of picks will be revealed in just around a minute. So
can we talk about this real quick? Just like what we need to look for for possible disappointment, like, because there's some signs, right, for people who may not understand how the lottery exactly works.
We don't want chaos. No chaos.
Yeah, so you're looking for, as these first teams come out, you want New Orleans, Toronto, OKC, Chicago, Dallas, in that order. Anytime you see one of those teams not show up in their spot, that means they jumped into the top 4. That doesn't necessarily mean they jumped Detroit, but that means they jumped into the top 4, which means there's a chance that it was Detroit that's going to fall out or could drop down. So if you pull up Tankathon and go to more and then click on pick odds, you can kind of follow along with what you need to happen.
Yep, and every spot or every team that jumps into the top 4 is just one less spot in there that the Pistons can have. So being where we are in the odds, I am looking for the top 4 to remain the same.
And I would add too, since we're watching this in reverse, the more names that do seem to jump, the less likely it is that all 4 or all three or two or whatever jump Detroit. Like until you get 4 teams from less than the top 4 jumping in, and then you know for sure that the Pistons are 5. But if it's 2, they are the worst record. It'd be very unlikely to be jumped that many times. So they are still good. You can still be a little calm until maybe the moment happens.
Number 5.
All right. Before this gets underway, everyone say where they think the Pistons will go. I'll go first. I think it's 3.
Oh, Bryce. I love it.
I'm gonna try to do a reverse jinx and say we're picking 5.
I spent so much time just absolutely petrified of having to do a whole like draft cycle of the Scoot Miller debate. So I think the universe is going to spite me and they're going to go 2.
Amari has been super negative on the pulse about the
Mhm.
Pistons picking number 1, and so I've gone the other way. I'm number 1. Peanut butter and Lay's sandwiches are in my very near future.
All right, the Pelicans are 14th, Raptors 13.
That's all good.
Love it.
12 is OKC.
Perfect. This is a big one, right? Chicago.
Yeah, because
There's
they could send it to Orlando, right? Okay,
Okay.
Orlando via Chicago is 11.
perfect.
Love
And this is-
that.
So that
That's-
means
yeah.
Dallas keeps their pick. Because if any of those teams jumps, Dallas would have moved back,
Push Dallas
and
down.
then they would have given it up because it's top 10 protected.
And Dallas is picking 10.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
happy they're
All right.
not jumping
first
in the top
5.
4.
All status
Yeah,
quo.
me
This is
too.
good. Are they still going, or are we going to commercial?
Utah is number 9.
Still good.
Am I like ruining anything for you guys who have it on a second screen?
So
Oh,
just so
this
you
is
guys
perfect
know,
because I'm a little behind on my
Okay.
screen.
yeah,
so
I'm a
this is
little
good.
behind, but just so you know, pick 7 is the one that has all like I did a quick study recently, and pick 7 jumps the highest. Pick
Huh.
7 and 8.
Okay, I think we're
Interesting.
7th is Indiana, 8
Who was
is
8?
Washington.
Yeah, we're still
Washington,
status.
so,
We're still status
yeah.
quo. Then
I'm still good. I love that
Magic
Indiana
are
didn't go up.
6.
you should
I
be
think-
Orlando.
Or Orlando, yeah, is 6.
It was.
Yes.
So everything is
It's status
scratch.
quo.
Oh,
Yeah. Shut up.
yeah, the Pistons are number 5.
No.
There you go.
Hey,
Amari was right.
Oh my
Bummer.
God.
Oh well.
Well, that was anticlimactic.
sorry.
Very
I
anticlimactic.
was
It was
not-
going so well up until that.
I was not expecting that.
Oh.
Wow.
Ugh.
Man, that's crazy.
All right.
Let
That
the
is
meltdown begin. I don't
crazy.
even want to
Holy
go to
shit.
Twitter.
I know.
Oh, people
Honestly-
would be so upset.
Man, I did not think I thought 4 at worst. I did not think that was going to be possible. I'm in shock.
Yeah. And this
Like, I
is
don't
this is the lowest a team with the worst record has dropped since the changes, right? Jack, I read that in your
So
research you did.
Yeah. So traditionally, since the lottery has changed in 2019, it's been either pick 2 or 3 for the worst record. So
Okay, where did they stop there? Or are they still going?
Yeah, we're at a commercial, so
Commercial
they're gonna
break.
do the
So-
top 4 on the other side.
The winner right
Portland
now.
jumped in then, right?
I was to say, yeah,
Yeah.
Portland is a winner right now. It looks like they were supposed to be at 5. They've at least jumped into the top 4. So you have Houston, San Antonio, Charlotte, and Portland left.
Yeah.
man, that's
Interesting.
crazy. I can't believe that.
I hope it's Portland. That'd be fun. Get him with Dame, Wemby. That'd be fun.
I think Jeremy Grant would go ahead and sign
Yeah,
back in Portland.
that's
in
what
that
I was just
situation.
gonna say.
I think he was.
Oh, well, there goes all the work on Victor, Scoot, and Brandon Miller. No point to talk about those. I'm glad we talked about those guys as much as we did because we don't need to talk about them anymore.
Yeah.
True.
I'll tell you
I
this.
mean,
there's a lot of guys in play now.
I guess it's Cam Whitmore, Anthony Black, Asar Thompson, maybe a man.
Yep. Jarris,
Yep.
Taylor
Hendricks.
Hendricks. I
Man.
think anybody other than those three. I mean, I think it's been a group of like 8 or 9 guys that people have been talking about. So you take the top 3 out, and you have 5 or 6 left. So
I feel like I need to gather myself. I need like a 2-minute break. My thoughts are just all over the place.
okay, so let's play this. What if Portland landed 2? Is there a package you could put together to trade up? Nah, because they would just take Brandon Miller and let Scoot fall to 3. I was trying to work through some scenarios where maybe the Pistons could trade up from 5 to, 2 or 3. So what's the scenario where you get Scoot at 2? You need somebody at 1, San Antonio at 2, Miller falls to 3, and then maybe you could swing a trade if you really wanted Miller.
I guess the trade that comes to mind, like pick 5, like, do you think there's a way the Pistons could sort of trade back with the Magic? I mean, I guess if the Magic had pick 8 and 11, I could see that more realistic. Maybe not 6 and 11 for 5. But is there a way the Pistons could sort of use that to get a couple of lottery picks? Because there is like plenty of talent in the late lottery.
I wouldn't
like you'd need like Miller to fall or something really unexpected to happen to make that work.
Or somebody that falls in 1. People that fall in love with the Thompson twins if the Pistons aren't in love with the Thompson twins. I still wouldn't go past 9. I think that's the furthest I would go. I think there's a little bit of a break there. But I would almost, if Cam Whitmore's there, like I'm still walking away pretty happy with Cam Whitmore at 5, And again, I'm a little higher on him than some, not as high as some others, but I've talked myself into 5 guys. Like I'm just trying to decide if it's because I knew the Pistons could only fall to 5 or if there's really those guys that I would be okay with.
Yeah.
I guess
Twitter's a disaster, man.
Oh my God.
I guess what was I going to say? Like, Amen Thompson seems to be the guy, at least from my perspective, when I look at draft boards, like places like No Ceilings, he sort of seems to be around 7 or 8 over there with some guys. So Amen's a guy I could see sliding to 5. I know, Wes, you're a bit lower on Amen in terms of that top 3 to 4 range. I feel like for me, he's the guy I would, if they could get him at 5, it'd be similar to last year how Jaden Ivey sort of, I guess, slid to 5. That's sort of the prospect for me. I would be hoping Detroit could get. But look, there's still a lot of draft workouts and everything to play out in the next month or so. So,
have you guys checked your text messages? Because like I've got a lot of like, so in order: gross, different person, ouch, different person, 5 LMAO, different person, ouch, buddy, with an exclamation point. So this is all I'm getting from my friends.
Oh man,
I've got that sucks. Then that sucks a lot. And then someone just texted me 5, just the number.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I had my phone on the ground, which was probably for the best.
Oh man, we just missed. So the Spurs got the first pick.
I was going to ask if anything else had happened. Okay,
yeah.
so
all right, it went San Antonio, Charlotte, Portland.
San Antonio. So Charlotte at 2 is going to be real interesting.
Yeah.
Portland 3, and then Houston at 4.
Yep.
Okay, so San Antonio, and people have been calling San Antonio. People are really going to call conspiracy theory. So San Antonio gets Wemby. Charlotte at 2, you can see a world where they don't go Scoots, right?
Yeah. And
then who's 3?
Yeah.
Portland.
So there's your scenario, Bryce. Scoot falls to Portland. You're able to trade up. What can you do?
There you go, right? Like, could you package 5? Would you? But then you are probably taking Scoot. So, like, would you trade from 5 to 3 to take Scoot, though, is the question.
What do we have to tie to it? Like, that's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to
No,
think
no,
of.
so-
Player.
I would say like 5 and Boyan or something like that. Like in anybody that's not Cade, Ivy, or Duren. Like,
Yeah. I don't know.
Are you willing to do that for Scoots? I think like tier talents, but now you have fit concerns. Is that worth it?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I think I would probably hold off. Like, I'm fine waiting to see who slides to 5. I'm really interested with Houston now at 4 because I think they were sort of in a similar boat to us as they're maybe looking for a wing. I mean, really wanted to hit on like that star potential guy. So I'm interested to see what they do. But either way, like if we stay at 5, I'm pretty confident we can still add a player that is at least going to make some sort of impact to this roster.
I think Houston at 4 is good for what I would want for Detroit, which is Cam Whitmore. Because if the 3 go in the top 3, however, I would assume Houston would go Amin Thompson and just let him run the show at point and form the most incredibly athletic backcourt in the NBA.
Insane.
And if I was Houston, I would do that literally. And then you get Cam at 5. So the weird one, like you say, Wes, is Scoot with Portland at 3. Assuming Charlotte. Go ahead.
I feel like there was a report that unless Portland do get pick 1, they'd be looking to trade it. I'm assuming that's what we brought up before. So that'll be interesting now with pick 3. Do they keep Dame or? I mean, there's a lot. I mean, you brought it up, but feels like there's a potential for that to be moved, or at least, yeah.
So would you guys trade 5 to, like, Jack, would you trade 5 to Portland? Would you trade up to 3 if Scoot win at 2 and Brandon Miller was still on the board at 3? Like, let's just say Charlotte says, hey, we'll play Scoot and Ball together. Brandon Miller's there at 3. Portland says, we'll go back to 5. Give us Boyan and I don't know, whatever, whatever that is.
I guess if the trade was there, I'm just personally like, I don't know if I see the fit and how like Brandon Miller would work with the Pistons, but I think I'm really warming towards Cam Whitmore at 5. Yeah. If I know he's going to be there at 5, I'm not sure I'm going to give up other stuff to move up for Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller is going to be a great, really solid player and could be an all-star, but I don't know. I think this team, if they bring on Cam Whitmore, that you can get just as much value out of him. And I think he helps this team just as much from an athletic standpoint, because I think that's something this team still lacks, is sort of athleticism and people that can get into the paint and sort of bend the defense. So, yeah, if it's Brandon Miller, I don't think I'm doing it. As of right now.
I don't think I would either. And I kind of want to ask this question, like, who do you all think has more upside between Miller and Whitmore? Like, speaking specifically to what they potentially can become.
I actually do think it's Brandon Miller. Now, there's always the caveat to the upside question, which is what's the percentage chance they hit that upside?
Yeah.
But I think Brandon Miller just has a certain wiggle and a fluidity in his hips that's a little bit different than Cam and has shown more passing acumen than what we've seen from Cam. Now, context needs to be included, but I would say right now I'd feel comfortable saying the ultimate ceiling is higher for Miller, but what's the percentage of that compared to what's the percentage chance Cam hits what his ceiling is, which is still, again, if you believe in Cade and Ivy, this is okay. Like, if you think those two guys are studs in the backcourt and Duren's going to be really good, Cam Whitmore's really good at number 5. So, or I'm in and you take a huge swing on a super high ceiling. So,
I think with the Miller Whitmore question, I do think I agree. So I think that Miller's ceiling's higher, but I also think that he's much more likely to hit it as well, which kind of speaks to why he'd be, on that number 2, number 3 tier, where Cam, you're looking at him at maybe at 5.
I was going to say Blake and Bryce. I mean, Blake, we sort of touched on this last time you were on the stream, but what's your guys' thoughts on Asar Thompson, the other Thompson twin?
Go ahead, Blake, because I'm interested to hear this.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, they do a lot of similar things. I think that Asar is a bit better of a defender currently than Amen is. I think the biggest like question with Asar is like whether he is as athletic as Amen, which I don't think he is. So where can he get to? The interesting thing is I think Amen is the better athlete, like no question about it. I think Asar might potentially fit with the Pistons better, strictly because like at OTE he played more off the ball when Amen was running the show. Now I don't really know if that would change when he's not playing with his brother, but when you already have like Cade and Ivy and want to like run through them, have the ball in their hands, like maybe Asar was the better fit. So overall, I would say I do like Asar. I have him and his brother like similar. I think Amen is the much better athlete, but Asar might be a little bit better on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I will say this. I think there's a lot of projection in both of those guys' defense, and there always is. But there's a lot of they have a lot of really, really bad habits. I'll just say this. I'm fine drafting him in. I'm even okay if somebody wants to draft Asar at 5 if Amin was off the board. Be prepared for some really, really, really tough possessions defensively as they grow through some bad habits that they do have. My thing with Asar is I don't think he's that much better of a shooter than Amin, even though the shot does look better. And then Blake said it. He's not as good of an athlete. He's not as good off the bounce. And he'd be a good secondary creator for the role. So in terms of fit, but I do think I have those guys in different tiers, just as overall prospects.
For sure. And I guess, yeah, the shot it just looks a lot better. But as you guys outlined, the percentages, I'm not sure, did Asar shoot better from the free throw line considerably than Amen, or are they still similar as well?
I'd have to look that one up. I know the 3-point percentage for like the whole wasn't that much different.
Yeah, I think Amen was around like high 20s and Asar was like 31, 32%. But the stroke does definitely look better. Whether or not it's more effective, I guess, is to be seen. We got a great question here. From Aruna, would you trade Cade, Ivy, and Duren for Wembanyama? Doubt San Antonio would do it, but wondering how we value that core. This is a great question, but I don't know how to answer it. My gut says no, but I don't know if I'm just being biased because I'm attached to the players. But what are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I'm saying
what
no.
Are you left? What are you left with?
Exactly. Right.
And I really feel like people are forgetting about Cade. I mean, I know he was out like the whole year, but we were very high on what he could do, and he had that real good stretch at the start of the year. I mean, I don't know, maybe he's just like out of sight, out of mind. No one's thinking about him, but like we do still have Cade. He's still got high ceiling.
I like that you brought this up, Wes, because it's something I've been talking to with some Pistons fans and some other Pistons people is Cade a number one guy? Because I think a lot of people's reservations or some anxiety around this roster could be this team still might not have that number one guy. So do you guys, I'd like to hear each of your thoughts. Do you think Cade can be that number one guy? I'm not even talking championship. I'm just saying to get this team, perennial playoffs, top 6 sort of range in the East. Like, do you think he can be that with what you've seen and what you project? No thoughts. Okay.
Sorry, I missed the question. I'm trying to keep up with what did you ask, Jack?
In a nutshell, do you think Cade can be the number one option?
Yeah, I think Cade can be the face of a franchise. I mean, I said that when he came out. I haven't seen anything so far. Well, we've seen 72 games, I think, that makes me question that. If I've questioned one thing, it's I don't think Cade is the leading scorer on a championship team. Not that he's not the face of a franchise and like the number one guy. But I saw a lot from Jaden Ivey that like maybe Jaden Ivey can be the leading scorer and just go crazy and shoot it good enough. Cade puts everybody in position, does all those things. And like I said, if those two are like, if Cade is like a all NBA player and Ivey's an all-star level player, then you're in pretty decent shape. Like that's and if Jalen Duren has the ceiling, now you're just here's the room for error with some of these guys not hitting those ceilings is a little less now, right? Because you don't have a Victor Wembanyama but a lot of people really like Cam Whitmore, man. So
yeah, and speaking just a little more on Cam, sort of tied into this question, like I think Cade can be the guy too. I do want him to have someone else that can go and guard whoever the opposition's best player is. I don't want that solely to be Cade's job. So if we do add someone like Whitmore that I think has shown that he could potentially get there to be able to do that, I think that would be huge and would just save some energy for Cade, so he can run the offense and everything. So that's another addition that would help with this 5th pick, hopefully.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, I think Cade can be that guy too. I mean, I think, like you said, Bryce, he's probably not going to be a 30-point per game scorer one day. I feel like he could get to 24, 25 though. And when you got a lot of guys getting in that range, you don't really need the 30. I don't personally think you need the 30-point guy as much. So, I mean, looking back to the draft, we're talking Cam Whitmore. I got a pitch by guy Anthony Black though. I mean, he's another ball handler, right? And I really like the idea of adding another guy that can handle the ball and defend and just kind of fit as a cog as a really high IQ player right off the bat. I think Anthony Black can do all that. So I do still like him. Even like I wouldn't personally take him over Cam Whitmore at 5. I can talk myself into it though, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, now feels like the next 3 to 4 weeks we'll just be diving in on Anthony Black film, Cam Whitmore, the Amen Thompson if he's there. I did have.
I'll just say quick because somebody asked on Twitter. My order right now, you take those 3 out. I would go Cam Whitmore, Amen Thompson, Jarris Walker, Anthony Black, Asar Thompson, Taylor Hendricks. Those would be the 6 names. That would be my current order for the Pistons big board. Obviously, one of those guys is going to be gone at number 4, but that would be my order for those guys. And I don't have anybody else. I don't even know if all those guys are in the same tier, but I wouldn't have anybody else in the tier. No Cason Wallace or Grady Dick or anybody like that. So
let's all give our what was that 6 that you named? Let's all do a 6. Blake, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm over here in my notes trying to make my order too. Okay, I think I got it here. I got, let me see, Whitmore. Sorry, I'm all over the place on this one.
I'm just like I'm getting more messages, people apologizing. You're just saying sorry, man. No context.
Bree just yelling about how the lottery's rigged.
So the 6 names again: Whitmore, Thompson, Walker, Black, Thompson, Hendricks.
Yeah, I got in this order: Whitmore, Amen, Black, Asar, Hendricks, Walker.
Okay.
Go Cam, Black, Amen, Hendricks, Walker, Asar.
Yeah, I think I'm similar. I would probably have Amen at 5, then Whitmore, Anthony Black, Taylor Hendricks, and Asar Thompson are sort of like, I don't know, 4A and 4B. Yeah, that would probably be where my tier ends. I do like Grady Dick, but yeah, nowhere near pick 5. So we do have a question here. This one's been sitting here for a while, just to change the topic a little bit, from Rishi. Rank your 3 favorite wings that might be available at 31. Bryce?
Well, no, I'm just going to go with those guys. And I will say this. It sounds like Leonard Miller's more of a big than a wing based off his size and kind of how he's been playing. I will say that I would be very excited for Rupert or Koulibaly at 31. Those are both guys that I would be cool with at 31. I think that pick at 31 is kind of interesting, whether somebody falls or if the Pistons to try, if you package something and trade it back into the end of the first round. So that's another place where they can do some work on wings. So I need to pull up a board. But if it's just those guys, I would probably go Repair, Koulibaly, and then I don't really consider Leonard Miller a wing, to be honest.
Yeah, so I can throw another name out there that, I don't think will really be considered at 31, but if we're talking about wings in the second round, Bobby Klintman out of Wake Forest is he is like a huge wing. Like, I think he might be 6'10".
He is. Yep.
And his stock isn't crazy. So I don't know. He's a huge project. So you can't expect him to come in and light it up right away. But he's someone that showed mechanics in his freshman season. And he's definitely a guy to keep a name on in the second round if they do want to go that way. Bryce, I don't know if you have any thoughts on him.
No, I do. So for some other reasons, I've actually watched a ton of Bobby Klintman this season, including the beginning of the year stuff, followed him all season, and then he blew up at the end of the year. The kid's really good. I thought he was going to be a lottery 2024 guy, and then obviously he blew up enough. Like, there's conversations in the draft world that he won't be there at 31. Like, there's first round talk. And this draft gets crazy after 2025. If they could get Bobby Klintman at 31, and he's a 6'10" wing, he's like he's a perimeter player, no doubt. I've seen him operating ball screens, and he can shoot. The form looks good. So if they could land Bobby Klintman, I'd be happy. I like Andre Jackson. I don't know how you feel about him. I know he can't shoot it, so people are going to freak out. Julian Phillips is another guy to keep an eye on. He was really, really good defensively for Tennessee, tested incredibly well at the combine. I think he has more offensive game than what he showed at Tennessee. There's a lot of interesting wings at 31. So I think that's another pick that can be really exciting for Detroit, whatever they do with it.
This might just be a me thing, because I know he's usually ranked a little lower, but and again, another guy that can't shoot, but dude can guard and rebound really well. I really like Indiana's Trace Jackson Davis. I just really like him as a utility combo forward. Shoot, he could probably even play the 5 a little bit. Like I said, probably reach there at 31, but I really like his game.
Yeah, I'll just add, I think I've spoken about him a little bit, but I like Julian Strawther. I've spoken to Bryce about him over text. I've seen, I'm not sure, 31 could be a little bit high for him, but I just love his shooting potential. He's a good size. He rebounds from the wing. I feel like this team needs more rebounding from the wings. And yeah, I think he's a junior. He's sort of battle tested. I don't mind. Like, I think you can go a couple, like, second round picks. You can either take that sort of raw unknown prospect, or you can take these more developed 3 or 4 year guys out of college who can come in and potentially sort of help right away. And they're probably different players, but I could see Strawther having a similar impact to like Isaiah Livers, just in terms of just coming in immediately, being able to shoot the ball, bigger body. So that's someone I'll be keeping an eye on in the second round for sure. Another question here from Rashad. Is there anyone in the draft from pick 5 and up that will end up being a superstar that wasn't foreseen, like Devin Booker ended up being? Is there anyone in the late lottery we could see sort of becoming that all-star type player?
Kobe Buffkin?
I love Kobe Buffkin. I also love Jordan Hawkins. You guys know this. So there's two names: Kobe Buffkin, Jordan Hawkins.
What about GG Jackson?
GG is really interesting because you talk about young players, weird environment. If you listen to Rafael Barlow, he says the kid's incredible, like really good intel compared to the Instagram live that GG did during the season. So GG's interesting. That's a good call, Jack. I think that's a pretty big boom or bust, but that's interesting. And I've seen GG's stock all over the place, at least on Twitter draft analysts.
I think I saw Raphael had him at pick 5 on a big board.
Yeah, and then Sam Vecini has him in the 20s. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
There may not be somebody that has a wider range.
Yeah, I actually have another name here. Interested to hear what you guys think about this one. Dariq Whitehead, who's definitely had some injury issues. So we don't really know what he's going to be. So I don't know, someone that can have superstar potential that we're not really thinking of could be a guy like that. Also interesting Detroit connection with him. Like Cade Cunningham has spoken super highly of Whitehead. They both came out of Montverde. And Cade has said, like, no one has played higher level basketball than him for as long as he has. So I'm really interested to see where he goes in this draft and what his career turns out to be once he's all healed.
For what it's worth, I had him number 3 on my board coming into the season. I mean, I had Wimby, Scoot, and then Dariq Whitehead was my number 3. And then the injuries and everything at Duke and all of that. But definitely questions around him, but that's a good call as well.
Ryan here says, what about Taylor Hendricks at 5? So I'll turn this over to Blake and Bryce as the draft experts. But from what I've seen, read, and a little bit of film, is I believe I'm not sure if there's that all-star potential there, unless he's going to be a real defensive stopper or make a real impact on the defensive end because of the limitations he might have creating for himself at the moment. But that's just my opinion. I'm keen to hear Blake and Bryce and Wes, of course.
Yeah, I'll just say, like, I think he's in the conversation at 5, but I just did some film on. I actually just put out an article. Selfish plug. Shameless plug. I always get this wrong. Of course, Jack has to be the one to correct me. But yeah, shameless plug over at Draft Digest. I just put out Jarris Walker and Taylor Hendricks articles. So, and after those, I actually went in higher on Hendricks than Walker and came out higher on Walker than Hendricks. So I think 3-and-D, solid defender, can shoot it. I just don't think the ceiling's super high. So he's in the conversation, but I would have him lower on my list.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar. I mean, the plus with Hendricks is like he's a great shooter at his size. He's also a super positive on the defensive end. So, I mean, I could see it in consideration. Like, of the 6 names we listed, I think he was towards the end of my list as well. But I think he's a guy that can definitely impact a contending roster. Like, we've seen what's happened with all these centers in the postseason. Like, he's a guy that you can plug into those lineups and have him out there as maybe a small ball 5 or a guy who can like switch on to some wings. So I don't think it's out of the question, but right now I think a little more unlikely than some other names at 5.
Yeah, I think for me, I'll echo the same thing. I don't know. I don't think I would take him at 5. Like you guys said, I think he is in the conversation. But I mean, with them picking at 5, you've got probably a group of, like we've been talking about, 5 or 6 players that, I mean, you look at and all of them, if everything were to break right, probably have similar-ish upsides. So at that point, I would be looking at fit quite a bit. And given that they need a wing, someone who can defend, I'd just be looking away from Hendricks and Walker, generally speaking, to the other guys. So
I was just having a think then, and so we know Troy Weaver loves big men. He wants to play two bigs.
Mm-hmm.
He's traded for centers. He's waived and stretched centers. I think the Pistons still owe DeAndre Jordan some money. Dwayne Dedman might even still be on the books.
I think
for all-
Deadman's actually the only dead money now. Like
Okay.
he's the only one
so.
left. But there's still another year after this year.
So with
It's a long
that in
stretch.
mind, is there a center? I just had a quick look at a big board, and it doesn't look like there's a center that could be taken at 5. But is there a big man you could see Troy Weaver taking at 5, or is Taylor Hendricks sort of the closest sort of player in that role?
Derek
Yeah.
Lively is like the
Yeah.
one that would be absolutely insane, but is the like if you want a name, that's the name, I guess, of a true center. Because I think Hendricks is a 4. Again, I think Walker's a 4. Hendricks probably has a little bit better of an ability to go to the 5. But I mean, if you're talking true centers, Lively may be the only other first rounder, Blake, that I can think of.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. I mean, there was like Kyle Filipowski, but he's going back to Duke. So I think this draft is definitely, and I mean, just like where the game is heading overall, like I don't think you're gonna see a true center being used for like a top pick, other than whatever you want to call Wemby. But yeah, I think that Lively is really the only one that could be considered as a true center, and I don't think he's anywhere near 5 on the Pistons board. At least I hope not.
You never know. Wes?
Yeah, I can't even imagine Lively at 5, so I'm just gonna say no. It's Hendricks or Walker as bigs, but they're more modern bigs. So no centers at 5.
All right, we got a question here from Thomas. What about a trade? Who could we target in a trade with pick 5?
This is hard. These are hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we threw out earlier potentially, as unlikely as it is, maybe trading for 6 and 11 from the Magic. I guess the Pistons have to throw in some more there to get pick 6, especially. The other thing that comes to mind for me was I was just thinking about it then, because Portland are just that it's so interesting with them at 3, because if they do look to take Brandon Miller or they fall in love with Amen Thompson, and that means they do look to move Damian Lillard, then Jeremy Grant suddenly becomes a whole lot more realistic as someone the Pistons could target, because I can't imagine they would re-sign him if Damian Lillard's on the roster. So he's not necessarily a trade target, Jeremy Grant, but if Portland look to keep their pick and go young, I could see Jeremy Grant and the Pistons potentially coming back together for a reunion.
No, like that's definitely interesting. I was trying to think it of like if they went and like traded for an established player in the league. And I just, like I say, I love the question. I love the idea. I just don't, I have such a hard time coming up with names. Like, could you trade 5 for like Mikal
Julius
Bridges?
Randle?
Yeah, but I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't either. I'm just
like
thinking
Mikal Bridges is so much better. Is going to take so much more than that.
Yep.
Cam Johnson, like I wouldn't do it for him. Plus, he's a restricted free agent. I'm just trying to think of some names on team like OG Anunoby. That's a name, right? Like people have thrown Michael Porter Jr. That's interesting. I don't think you're getting any of these guys just for 5, though.
Yeah, I
For you,
think
Bryce. Keldon Johnson. What if the Spurs want to double dip in the top 5?
I would just draft Cam.
I would too, but I think that might be like the best name potentially available. Young wing, good defender, 20 plus.
Would you trade 5 and Boyan for OG Anunoby?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think this speaks to how we feel about Cam Whitmore, Amen Thompson, and some of those guys then. Because if you want to trade 5 and Boyan for OG, then because I don't think any of us think Boyan's here when this team is really competing in the playoffs. So essentially you're saying you have some faith in Cam Whitmore, Amen Thompson, Anthony Black for Wet. Like I point to the top of the screen like I know Is this how it looks for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So
You're right to do it.
I'm
Yeah.
right. Okay, perfect. I think that speaks to how we feel about some of these guys then.
All right.
this is-
One more, Jack. The Bulls. The Bulls are really, really upset that they're losing the pick. They want they offer up DeMar DeRozan for 5 and Bojan. And a future asset, some protected pick. So 5 Bojan for DeMar DeRozan and a protected future first.
DeMar's I think he's 33. He's just too old. I really like what he's done with Chicago, but he's out of that range.
Yeah, and I don't know what his contract's like, but I'm sure he would just sign somewhere else once it's over. So I don't know.
It'd be like a year or two rental.
Is there someone on the Sixers like that thing might blow up?
Well, Tobias Harris. You wouldn't
but
trade.
I'm not trading 5 for him.
5.
This is actually one I like here. With the Knicks, Raphael, RJ Barrett. So he's proposing pick 5 and Bojan. That's something I don't mind.
Nuts
and we get our pick back. That's important caveat there.
Very key. Because that, Bryce, correct me if I'm wrong, but that allows the Pistons to once again sort of trade future picks freely.
So, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Good Lord. I'm sorry, I'm not going to give him credit. But I think there is a way to trade picks, but then the protections get super, super crazy because of the protections on this pick. This would just simplify things to where if you wanted to make the Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, et cetera type trades, you could do it. Obviously, those are kind of bad examples, but just saying. So my issue with this is I don't want RJ Barrett.
He's such a divisive player, isn't he?
Laz loves him, which I respect the hell out of Laz. And Laz has been right on a lot of things. Laz knocked the Johnny Davis critique out of the park last time. So I'm just not sure. I'm not sure I would do that.
I really like RJ Barrett. All right, I really do. But he's been going off for the Knicks in the playoffs. I can't envision them even being interested in moving RJ Barrett. And to add the Pistons pick back on it, which looks like it might be pretty dang good in the future. I just don't even think that that's within the realm of value for 5
I can't imagine Tibbs would like Bojan Bogdanovic as good as a shooter as he is.
No, he would not.
Sounds like a nightmare for Tibbs.
People would say that Bojan's going to play harder defensively on a good team.
But people were saying
True.
Yeah. I don't
know.
He was a good defender, right?
Thomas just threw out one that I think you would want to consider. I don't know that gets it done completely, but that's the move, right? I don't think
you need to add Ivy at a minimum.
Yeah, I don't think that gets it done.
If not more.
Well,
and the pick protections, again, that future assets is hard.
Celtics would be in a weird spot too, because I don't know that they're like going full rebuild in that scenario,
this is where
right?
James Edwards from The Athletic has spoken about this on, I think, on the Bun and Cardigan. He was the idea of getting Jalen Brown in a 3-way trade with the Portland Trailblazers, Celtics, and Pistons. So Portland would get, they would get the picks or future assets for going young. Lillard goes to the Celtics. The Pistons get Jalen Brown and some sort of deal structured around that. But as a 1-for-1 with just the Pistons and Celtics, it doesn't make a lot of sense for the Celtics, even if Jaden Ivey is a future all-star. Like, they're potentially a finals team this season. As much as I want Jalen Brown, I don't know. Unless he wants to force his way out, I can't see it. Blake, you look like you're going to say something.
Oh, no, I agree with you. I don't think I would love this deal. I don't think it gets it done. But whatever that future assets means is essentially like the breaking point of that deal for me. Like, what does that look like? What does it take on our end to actually get that done?
For sure. And just to answer Thomas's question here, yes, you're right. Jalen is a free agency, but he's going to sign a Supermax extension.
I was going to say, he also was.
The key thing for Pistons fans was hoping Jalen Brown didn't make All-NBA.
Correct.
But I think he made the third or second team.
Second
Well, he
team.
definitely made one or the other. So he's now going to sign a super max. I imagine we'd all be shocked if he turned that down.
That's the problem with a lot of this stuff for me is I just balk at taking on contracts that big right now and guys this far into their careers, just because I think this team takes a step forward next year if healthy, but you're not competing for championships. Now maybe you add Jalen Brown and you are, and so then you're okay having a contract. That's a huge contract that he's going to get though.
Yeah.
Do we actually know the figure?
I'm sure it's out
I
there.
don't.
Yeah,
It'd be it must be that's 60 mil a season, wouldn't it?
it's
least
up
50.
there. I think Bobby Marks tweeted it out when he made All NBA. I don't know it off the top of my head though. It's high.
All right, guys. I got something fun for us each to sort of just do. Today hasn't gone as planned. I know I felt like I was the most nervous here, but if I had to, for some copium for Pistons fans, what would be a pitch to remain positive? What's the pitch heading into next season? Like,
I can do that.
all right,
me too.
Bryce.
Oh yeah, no. Cade Cunningham is the face of the franchise that we all thought he was whenever he got drafted. Wes, you guys have all brought up a good point, and like reading Twitter and everything else, all these other apps my phone's blowing up with, people legit have forgot that. Like they don't think that anymore, and there's nothing in his career that if you thought it when he got drafted, you should still think it. He was literally playing injured his whole NBA career thus far, and he's a better shooter than what he showed. Cade Cunningham's really good. Jaden Ivey was better than expected, at least for me, and looks like he could really be a Robin to somebody's Batman. Jalen Duren was better than we all thought, and then you can still add a really good player. So I'm still excited about where this team can go, and you have $35-40 million in cap space, so there's still avenues to improving the roster and getting better.
Beautifully said. Blake, Wes, what's your pitch?
Come on, Blake. Unless you need more time.
Oh no,
You
I
don't
can
have to do
go.
it.
I can go ahead. I mean, similar to what Bryce said, like we won the lottery 2 years ago. We have a guy who we think can lead the franchise to the next step. We don't know exactly what that looks like yet. So I know it's not the outcome that we turned out to be, but it's hard to win the lottery. It's only a 14% chance. We were lucky enough to have some luck a couple years ago. And now with the pieces that we've added, we're still going to add a top 5 talent. I know now the front office is going to do a ton of due diligence on all those guys, have them in for workouts to see who they think can really fit the system. I think we're now in a total position if we want to draft for fit and fill that glaring need on the wing, we can definitely do that. And that's where this team was lacking the most. And if healthy, adding an impactful wing, who knows what the step is that they can take. So definitely not the outcome we wanted, but I don't think it's all bad either.
Yeah. No, I agree. So my pitch is exactly what you guys said. You got Cade and Ivy, right? And I would add that Cade and Ivy were a lot of the reason a lot of people were excited about adding a guy like Victor, right? Because the fit was so nice. But that's true with any non-primary ball handler you add.
Can I say
They're
one
going to
thing
come
real
into
quick,
a
Wes?
low-stake situation. Go ahead.
People were so excited about those two is why they didn't want Scoot Henderson. So like it went from we don't even want Scoot Henderson to now we're devastated that we're not going to get Scoot Henderson. So like I hate to interrupt you, but that click when
And
you
last
said that.
offseason, everyone was just off their rocker thinking maybe they could go to the play-in game with a healthy Cade because you added Jaden Ivey at 5 and Bojan Bogdanovic. Like they still got these guys. They're going to add another top 5 talent. You've still got some free agency money to play with. I mean, I think there's still going to be. I don't think 17 wins is on the table again next year, and I don't think that this lottery had anything to do with that being true. All right, so they're still on a good path. I'm still excited about the team.
For sure. All I'll add, you guys have covered it beautifully, but it's like go back and watch Cade Cunningham's 4-game stretch against But it was a back-to-back against Atlanta, the Warriors, and Milwaukee, and you saw a guy that he put together a stretch of 28, 8, and 8, small sample size, but you saw a 6'6", 6'7" guy just commanding the floor, making plays at both ends, taking on the likes of Giannis. I mean, he developed that mid-range shot. He looked like a guy who can lead this team to winning, and it's the second half of the season was tough. It was really rough, but it gave Jaden Ivey the chance to really grow, and he turned like his biggest weakness coming into his rookie season was that in-between game. And by the end of the season, honestly, the most effective part of his offensive game was that dribble pull-up. Like he really honed in and really improved at a level I don't think anyone really saw. So unfortunately, it came amid a lot of losing, but I think just with those two guys alone, there's so much to look forward to. And as Blake said, this team now can draft for fit and really prioritize that wing position. And I think it's going to be this offseason. I think it's going to be extremely interesting. What does Troy Weaver do now? Like with that free agency money, some people might be a bit scared, and I get that, but I think this team next season will look to climb the standings, and with Cade back, plenty.
I was just going to add exactly what you were saying. I mean, ever since Weaver was hired until the moment he traded for James Wiseman, everyone has been very high on Weaver as both a talent evaluator and his potential as a GM. And I think now you just got a chance to prove it, right? Second year in a row, you're picking at 5. You're kind of getting your quote unquote pick of the rest, right? So this is really a chance for him to hopefully flex his evaluating skills, pull out someone just as hopefully talented as Ivy was, who looks like they have potentially an all-star future. And then now he's got some money to play with too. So, does he try to grab a sin-eating contract? Does he spend a little bit in free agency to improve the team? Like this is kind of a prove it, I guess, for Troy Weaver. And I mean, I don't think we got reason to believe he'll fail it outright.
So Amari just tweeted out, I didn't realize he had access to technology right now. Weaver said the team may consider trading the 5th pick. We'll turn over every rock and vet it out. If it'll help us move forward, we'll entertain it. We're excited about this draft pool, but we'll look forward to moving this team forward any way we can. So
nice. I think he said that exact phrasing the last 2 drafts as well. Turn over every rock really is ringing bells for me.
I'm getting a lot of very negative tweets to my Pistons current big board at 5. Like people are very upset, very upset.
I'm not. I will look at Twitter after the stream. I tweeted out a couple of things. I've been too scared to look. Too scared to engage in whatever's going on there. Before we sort of finish up, we do have a couple more questions here from Greg Burns. Possibly a leading question. How much does losing Wemby help launch Jalen Duren's Hall of Fame career?
I'll just say this. I think they would have been beautiful together. So I don't think it opens up a path that wouldn't have been there otherwise. With that said, obviously you're going to count a little bit more on Duren because he would have got overshadowed a tad in the front court, but I still think they would have worked well together.
Yeah, and I'm clearly playing what ifs here, but hey, now Jalen Duren might have the opportunity to guard Victor Wembanyama in the NBA Finals in a handful of years, and we never know what could happen there. So we'll see. Yeah, like Bryce said, I think they could have fit really well together, but Duren's going to be our 5-man, and I don't think there was any doubt about it if we got Victor or where we are now. So he definitely has the opportunity to reach his full potential in this situation.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see him play next year. I mean, he was flashing that passing skill a little bit more as the season was coming to an end. Hopefully he can, really even show it out even a little bit more in the short roll. And then on defense, I'm really intrigued to find out how he can improve as a weak side rim protector. So Jalen Duren, I think, is going to be a lot of fun next year. I'm excited to get a peek at it.
Yeah, I'm really excited. The offensive stuff's exciting, but next season I'll be intrigued to see his defense. Sam Vecini's been pretty low in his defense, who's someone I really respect in the NBA
Yeah.
media world. So, and I know Bryce, you've spoken about his defense, so that's something I'm going to be really interested to see the improvements he can make there next season. The final question here was a DBB submitted question from the comments. Is there anything the Warriors could give you that would convince you to take on Poole's contract? From Cliff Dweller.
Oh no, this was from last week, but we'll talk about it again.
Oh, is it? Sorry.
I didn't clear it. That's on me, but it's a good question. So especially now that they fell.
Oh, we get.
Yeah, I was gonna say no too.
Yeah, I'm just I'm a no. That contract scares the hell out of me.
I'll be the only dissenter just to keep it interesting. I think he could be a lot of fun off the bench, and if you are smart with the cap space moving forward, I don't think it's a crippling contract, though it is pretty large. And paying 30 mil for a guy as your backup too is something. But he'd at least be fun. I'd give him that.
Yeah, just 40 million or 30 million for a bench player. I'm not sure. I love the optimism though,
Something.
Wes. That's the best part about it.
You got to change it up a little bit when everyone's saying one thing.
For sure. For sure. Well, I think that sort of does it for tonight. Not the outcome we wanted, but I think as we discussed and we pitched, there's still plenty to look forward to. You know, from a content point of view and podcasts and discussion, there's going to be plenty to talk about, especially with Troy Weaver signaling he'll be looking to trade the pick. So thanks to Blake, thanks to Bryce, thanks to my co-host Wes. This has been fun as we do have a live draft show coming up on June 22nd in a month's time.
Mm-hmm.
All four of us will be here, plus a few more of the DBB writing staff. So thanks to everyone who submitted the questions. Appreciate your support. I think we at one point had 300 people in here watching. So just amazing support. Extremely grateful. Special thank you to Sean Corp, who currently is flying across the world to Japan. I don't think he would I don't think he would have gotten the news now that his
I doubt
Pistons
it.
are picking 5, but thanks to Sean for supporting the show. He makes everything happen here at Detroit Bad Boys. And join us this Thursday from 8 o'clock. We'll have Damien Allred on to discuss some more draft stuff from the DBB staff. And yeah, can't wait to talk more Pistons.
Thank you guys. This was super fun.